All right, guys, it's time for our speed round. We're doing a special Happy Halloween. Remember, Halloween is on Friday. Okay, Earn Your Sunday, presented by Lowe's speed round. The blank monster of the NFL is, okay, so the vampire of the NFL is?
I'll say Baltimore. They rose from the dead, right? That's the point of a vampire, is you rise from the dead.
I thought
the Baltimore Ravens.
He sucks blood. Yeah.
Vampires never die, Matthew.
Vampires never die. All right, fine. Well, listen, I'm trying to go along with the premise of this thing. It's not my fault. But they do. I guess they never do die. The same with the Baltimore. Then the Ravens still qualify because they didn't die, right? You can't kill them. You thought they were dead. They got no Lamar Jackson. They're 1-5 or whatever. They think they're dead, and they come back and they end up getting a big win against the Bears.
I didn't understand.
I'll say the vampire.
I didn't understand the question either. So.
Yeah, exactly, JG.
I like that you throw him under the bus first.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Maria. Somebody noticed we did.
I'll say the Chiefs because, what does a vampire do? When you're asleep, they sneak into your house and they suck your blood. And, all these teams have forgotten about the Chiefs and what have they been doing in recent weeks. And I think as the season goes on, they're just going to keep doing that.
Yeah, I still don't understand the question. Let's go to the next one.
I didn't either.
Okay, we're going to start with you on this one. The ghost of the NFL is?
The ghost. The ghost.
And you can't say Red Grange.
Yeah, I was going to say the Galloping Ghost, Red Grange, number 77. I'm trying to buy a little time.
You are, yeah. Because I don't know what y'all are talking about.
I would say the ghost for me is Atlanta. And I don't know why, but they just seem to not show up about every other second or third game. They've had some bad losses this year. I think they've shown us at different times, boy, this can be a dynamic offense. Boy, they're playing defense down there. You like their spirit. You like their energy. The next week, it's a dud. So I guess a ghost for me would be Atlanta for their disappearing act.
And I'll go with Atlanta for a different reason. You inspired me. They're the Bruce Willis ghost in The Sixth Sense. Now, 27 years, spoiler alert, they were dead the whole time. They got
that's a good one.
They got that big win. They got that. Yeah, you ever see that movie? He's dead the whole time. You ever figure that out at the end? But remember when they won that game? How many teams, seriously, how many teams this year have had this big primetime win?
Yeah.
And then they just disappear. And Michael Penix Jr. said, "We've arrived now." Well, they left. They were, and the ring hits the ground and it rolls away, and we realize they were dead the whole time.
Okay, this is kind of hurt my feelings. Can we pick
That's
someone other than the Falcons?
I thought he was going to go with another ghost with Patrick Swayze and Whoopi Goldberg. But I will say in terms of a ghost that sort of pops in and out, that does disappear. JG, to your point, I'll say the Houston Texans. Impressive win at home today against the 49ers. But then there's other times where you're like, how is this team a playoff team? There are times where C.J. Stroud looks like he's seeing ghosts behind that offensive line. But then there's also times when the defense shows up the way they did and they're dominating. So they pop in and out. They're good, they're bad, they're good, they're bad, similar to Atlanta.
These are by far the most creative illusions that we've had all year long.
You guys are doing so good, can I say. And that's after a long, cold night. They're just making stuff up. You're pulling it out of your you-know-what.
Yeah.
The next one is the werewolf of the NFL. I'll give you guys a little time. I want it to be Myles Garrett for me because he had 5 sacks in this one. And I just feel like he's a beast, but it's unfortunate that the Browns can't find a way to rally around him, and they still get the loss. But we had to create an entire highlight package for him.
I literally had to look up to define what a werewolf is. And so a werewolf changes into, it's a human that changes into a wolf. Sometimes,
you didn't know what a werewolf is?
I wanted to know what the definition was because I thought, there's a chance JG with his Princeton education is going to school me out here. So anyway.
Are you aware what a fish is?
What? I've heard what a fish is. For the purposes of this dumb segment, Florio, I'm trying to answer it. So I wanted to figure out exactly. Anyway, the definition of a werewolf is a human that turns into a wolf. Sometimes, they can't control it uncontrollably. And I'm going to say Philadelphia. Sometimes they're a passing team. Sometimes they're a rushing team. Sometimes they're good defensively. Sometimes their secondary gets lit up, right? Especially if they go away from Mitchell. So I'm going to say a werewolf, but it feels like whenever their backs are against the wall, similar to a werewolf, sort of the claws come out and they fight back.
All right, I'm going to be mean-spirited. I'm going to say Carson Wentz because he turned into a werewolf on Thursday night and was shot repeatedly by silver bullets, apparently, because every time he got hit, it looked like he was in complete and total mortal pain. And I don't know why they left him in the game. At some point, they got to let, from Centennial High, Max Brosmer. They got to let him see what he can do. So I think it's time for the Vikings to respectfully say to Carson Wentz, here's the real silver bullet.
We used to use the word werewolf in a scouting report. Like, this guy's a werewolf, kind of to what Maria was saying about Myles Garrett. You know, it was always a positive in football. And for me, it's probably a little bit New England. New England, they've been dormant for a while, and the werewolf is back. And, you know, Mike Vrabel's done a heck of a job there. I love what they've done throughout their organization, building the kind of team that he wants to have. And I think New England's finally getting their claws back, and it's fun to see.
All right, what about Frankenstein, Florio? I'm going to start with you.
Okay, I've given this one just a little bit of thought. I'm going to say it's the Cowboys' defense, because it's a bunch of different parts with an abnormal brain, right? And can't do anything ultimately at the end of the day. It's got all the parts. Yep. It gets up and it walks around, but the abnormal brain that Jerry put in there when they traded Micah Parsons keeps the thing from doing anything. Abby normal. Abby.
Yeah, that was
Abby normal.
Frankenstein's a monster, though, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, at the end of it. And again,
with an abnormal brain.
And in a good way. So I'm trying to play on your thoughts here.
He's buying time again.
Why don't you yell at him for not knowing who Frankenstein was? He's asked that with a question, Florio. Well, you know, good Lord.
Why don't you jump in there?
Yeah. I will. I think your premise there is right in terms of what's been pieced together, Florio. So I've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You know, Baker Mayfield's out there. Every single week it's a different guy out there on offense. They lose Mike Evans. They get him back. They lose him again. Chris Godwin is in there. Then he comes out. They got Ibuka. He's kind of got no Bucky Irving. Like, they're piecing it together out there on offense. Baker Mayfield didn't have a great game, but they gutted out a win against the Saints, divisional game. So I'll say the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who seem to be piecing it together week in, week out. I'll give you an honorable mention here, JG, that you can steal. I think the 49ers are similar in terms of how they're piecing it together, how Kyle is putting different pieces on offense together.
I really like how this Frankenstein thing is rolled into piecing together. I get it.
That's what Frankenstein is.
I get it. I like it. But the last part of Frankenstein is he's a monster. And that's why I'm going to Indianapolis. They've been pieced together a little bit. The most important decision that they made was in the offseason. Lou Anarumo to be their defensive coordinator. Most importantly, Daniel Jones to be their quarterback. Again, piecing together parts from around the league, and they are, in fact, a monster. They're the best team in football right now. Okay. How was that?
That was
a good
good.
recovery.
That was good. I mean, you had 20 minutes to figure it out. You dished it away. This is the last one, the Grim Reaper. We'll start with you, Matthew.
I'll say the Chiefs. You know what I mean? Like, similar to what Florida was saying earlier. Like, I mean, you know, like, I feel like you go to Arrowhead and you're facing Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, and like, you're done. Colts would also be a good choice as well. Like, they're just blowing out people. But for me, I'm going to say the Chiefs, because I still think they're the best team in the AFC. All due respect to the Colts.
Well, the Grim Reaper has an inevitability. We can run, but we cannot hide.
Yep.
And for me personally, it's the Minnesota Vikings, because every year it's inevitable. At some point, in every way imaginable, eventually they are going to fail. And fitting with the Grim Reaper, I will be long dead by the time they ever win a Super Bowl. I've told my son, you will be listening and watching the game at my tombstone.
Yeah.
And there's a chance his son will be watching at both our tombstones.
It gets so dark so fast.
Grim Reaper.
So much emotion and so much baggage.
I know.
50 years.
Poor Florio's kids now got to think about your tombstone.
Exactly.
Like, and rooting for the Vikings. Like, it's a lot.
At some point,
That's
we got
dark.
to take the backpack off our shoulder, right, and just leave it there and walk.
When I die.
I'm going back to Buffalo. Grim Reaper from the standpoint of they're the ones doing the killing, so to speak. And I think Buffalo is that team. Everybody thought they were dead. They're not dead. They're going to be there down the stretch.
Yeah, this was great, because usually when it's a speed round, I hop in. I'm like, guys, be faster. But to watch y'all just
she wanted to see us
so I
struggle.
wanted to see you struggle.
we struggle.
You're the Grim Reaper.
I am. I'm always going to come in.
I think once we went, we were aggressive. None of it really made much sense.
I know. Our producers
when
never
I looked at
anything
the sheet,
abstract again.
When I looked at the sheet, I said, I think I need to develop an illness and leave.
You have a concussion?
Yeah.
You have a concussion. Okay.
I thought through my answer.
I was limited in practice.
We've
No, I
done
was
all
full.
we can do.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.